Did you go out and buy a new phone, a 5G phone perhaps, and now you're hitting your 4G, LTE, 5G priority data caps and getting throttled? And are you wondering why when your experience of how you use your phone may not have even changed from the month prior or before that? Did you have a 5G tower get turned up in your area and didn't really realize it? Well, this video is for you if you want to know how to avoid getting throttled, or if you're going to go out and buy a new phone, one of these new iPhone 14s, and upgrade to 5G type connections. You're going to want to watch this to avoid using all of your data super fast and then getting throttled. Before I begin, please subscribe to the channel if you want to get updates on more mobile security content. If you find the video has value after watching it, then please like and help promote to get this in front of others who may have a need to know. Now back to the topic of how to manage your mobile data usage. So every mobile provider is having the same issue, which is people wondering, why are they hitting their data cap now when they don't feel like they're using their phone any more than they were prior? And there's a few reasons for this, the biggest factor being that people have upgraded their phones in the last year. They're getting faster phones and faster data connections with the 5G type connections, 4G, LTE, and 5G. And the second reason is that all the carriers, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, have turned down their slower speed networks of 2G and 3G, which means that 100% of your cellular usage when you're streaming especially is now using 4G, LTE, and 5G. And these are much higher consuming data speeds than 2G, 3G. It's like a multiplier of in terms of the amount of data that's used for what could be perceived as the same experience. So what does this mean? This means that when you use data apps such as YouTube, Netflix, especially, and you have your social media apps set to autoplay videos as you scroll through, you may be streaming the same type of content. You may be streaming that content for about the same amount of time that you normally do each month, but the apps are consuming a lot more data in the same time period of usage. To give you some stats, let's look at YouTube consumption. And most people have no idea that your YouTube video speed is measured in bit rates, but this has a massive impact on your data consumption. So to give you a couple examples, if you play a YouTube video at 240p, which is a bit rate speed of 240p, you're going to use up to a gigabit of data per hour, 1 gigabit. If you play the same video at a speed of 720p, you will use up to 1.86 gigabits of data per hour. That's not megabits. That's a difference of 1 gigabit per hour versus 1.86 gigabits of data per hour. If you have a 5G cellular connection and the YouTube video was recorded in the highest definition possible of 2160p, then you can use up to 16 gigabits of data in 1 hour. Now, the 2160p videos, they're extremely rare. So it's not something that I personally would probably worry about. But your typical HD video on YouTube is going to use about 3 to 4 gigabits per hour of streaming, which means that if you're trying to entertain yourself in the car and listen to something and it's running at, say, 1040p, then you're going to use about 3-4 gigabits in that hour of you driving just to simply listen to the audio. So just be aware of that. If you're watching a video on a mobile phone as opposed to a tablet, then your screen is so small that you probably don't even notice the difference in the video resolution between 720p and an HD quality video. And unless somebody really pointed it out and you have the two right next to each other, then you could probably, yeah, I see a quality difference. But is it worth, nearly, twice, if not more, the data consumption? It's not to me. Another example of a high data consumption app is Netflix. If your profile is set to view in low mode, then you're going to use around 1 gigabit of data for every 3.5 hours of usage. So you could watch 1 to 2 movies, and on low, you're going to use about 1 gigabit of data. Now, if your profile is set for medium when you're on mobile, then you're going to use 2 gigabits for every 3 hours, and high is going to consume anywhere from 3 to 7 gigabits per hour. And you have control over this. So a lot of people don't know that they can go into their Netflix profile and set mobile to play at either low, medium, or high. And there's also an auto setting. So if you have it on auto and you are watching Netflix over streaming, And the same thing for YouTube. If you have either one of these set on auto, it's going to stream at the fastest speed available, which means your consumption is going to go from 1 gigabit for an hour's usage up to possibly 16 gigabits in an hour, which in some cases might be somebody's entire priority data speed cap. So you have to really be careful of that. Also, for some reason, and maybe they've changed it, but the last time I did research on Netflix is that if you have a kid's profile set up, then and you use that to limit, the adult content, things like that, that you don't have the ability to change it to low, medium, or high. So if you're driving, say, for 2 hours or more, and you are distracting your child in the back seat with a tablet, and he's watching some cartoons from Netflix using that kid's profile, then he's going to be consuming at the highest speed possible. So just be aware of that. And if you do have a child that's using your data plan, then you might want to take a look at the Netflix profile settings and see if they've changed that. So what can you do about this high consumption rate? How do you prevent it? How can you alarm yourself and avoid the throttling? Well, I've got some suggestions. So one is that each time you play a YouTube video, there is a settings icon that is in the upper right of that video. And you can select the quality. If you go into settings, there's going to be a quality setting there. So you can select it at the highest quality, at an auto speed rate. You can select a data saver rate, and it even allows you to set a specific speed for that video. So an example of how I use this is if I'm driving for 2 hours and playing a YouTube video over Bluetooth, let's say it's an educational video or a podcast, then I'll set the video to play at a bitrate speed of 144 per hour. And since I'm driving, I'm not even going to be looking at the video. I'm just simply want to listen to the audio, let the video play. I never even look at the phone. 2, set your Netflix profile to low when using mobile. You don't need to see every detail of an explosion when you're traveling. And the smaller your phone is, definitely want to use low. If you want better quality because you're watching it on a tablet, then set it to medium. But depending on what kind of content, really decide, like, do I need the low? Do I need the medium? And it takes you 30 seconds to modify the settings. So you could actually do this for every video. And just be aware that if you have it on medium or high, especially high, you're going to consume a ton of data. Number 3, for any of your streaming apps, whether it's video or audio, make sure you have the consumption rate set where you get the quality you want. And you also avoid these heavy data peaks when you hit a fast connection. So, it's not just YouTube and Netflix, it's Hulu and Amazon Prime and, these audio only apps. I mean, if you have audio only set at a very high bit rate speed, then it's going to consume. And over time, you're going to use up your data speed. Number 4, look at your social media apps and see if you really need that autoplay turned on as you scroll through the post. So it's kind of nice as you, scroll through a page and you see movement of a video and maybe it captures your attention. So, just look and set it at what do you really need? And just be aware that autoplay for the video is going to consume data. Number 5 is avoid downloading apps or content using cellular, and try and prepare and download things when you have a Wi-Fi connection. When you have like 5G and it's super fast, it's like really tempting to download a movie because you have a 5G connection and it's going to be really fast. So if you wait until like 20 minutes before you need to go somewhere and you're like, oh, okay, well, I can use this 5G connection and download a movie. Yeah, it's super fast, but it uses a ton of data. And so just be aware that, just plan it out, like use Wi-Fi, don't even use any of your cellular data, try and prepare and download the content. Another thing you want to do is to set an alarm on your phone that's going to notify you when you hit a certain amount of data in your billing cycle. So for example, Verizon is a 22 gigabyte priority speed cap. So set the alarm at 15 gigabits. So go into your settings of your iPhone or your Android, and you're going to see the ability to set an alarm. So when in that billing cycle, when it hit 15 gigabits, it's going to alarm you on your phone. And now you know that, okay, well, I just used 15 gigabits. I have 7 gigabits left. So I need to cool out. I need to use lower bit rate speeds, or maybe I should just consume a little bit less and use a lot more Wi-Fi. So on AT&T, if you set it around 30 gigabits. So, you get an alarm on a unlimited data plan on AT&T, set it at 30 gigabits. And now you got tons of data speed left, tons of priority data speed left to enjoy for whatever the rest of your billing cycle is, because now you know, now you can manage it. In summary, being throttled is frustrating, especially when you don't feel like you're using your phone any different than you were before. You're using it for the same amount of hours, same type of content, same type of apps, but now you're 100% of the time using 4G, LTE, and 5G fast connections, and the 2G and 3G networks have been turned down. Another data point is from the mobile carrier perspective is I used to go out and sell software that would help reduce data consumption of streaming apps. So YouTube, for example. So if you've ever streamed YouTube on a cellular connection, and after 30 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes, all of a sudden it starts buffering. Well, what happened is your data connection either got a lot faster or it got a lot slower. So your video bit rate, like on YouTube, went from 240p to 720. And then if the cellular connection got slower, it would go from 720 to 360p as an example. And what's happening is when you see that spinning, it's actually dropping all the bits that it had buffered to try and play a nice smooth video. And then it's re-buffering, it's re-getting data at this new speed. So what it's doing when it's buffering, it's actually using more data that way. And so we had a software connection at a different company that would help alleviate that by pre-buffering at a slower speed. And from the carrier's perspective, they were like, well, why would I do that? Be like, well, because you get to save data. From the customer's perspective, they get a better user experience because they can consume more data for less amount of money. And from the carrier's perspective, they're again like, well, why would I want to do that? So from their perspective, a customer doesn't know what a megabit of data is, doesn't know what a gigabit or 10 gigabits of data is. And what they want you to do is they want you to consume your data as fast as possible so that they can then sell you even more data. So if you think about the fact that they turned down 2G and 3G networks, which are these slow speeds, and now they put everybody on these faster speed connections, they're getting you to use your speed, your data caps, much faster, putting you in a position where you now have to potentially get throttled and say, hey, I need another, 20 megabits or 20 gigabits of data, 30 gigabits of data. And so this is a very profitable thing for the carriers. So by turning 2G and 3G down, they've turned the whole cellular network in the US into a supply-demand equation that's good for the cellular carriers. So, just be aware of that, manage your data, set an alarm, and then you're going to be fine. If this content was valuable to you, then please subscribe, like the video, and check out our other videos on how to keep your mobile secure and stay safe. Thank you.